Hello, everybody. All right. All right. Well, welcome to the Mikestand. Today is, of course, Thursday, December the 4th, 2020, 2025. Hopefully, everybody's having a um, good evening or a good week this week. We're, of course, in the first week of September. We're exactly 3 weeks away from Christmas, so I know everybody's excited about that. Gonna, of course, give people a chance to come in before we get started. If you haven't already, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people to engage, that'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So, anyways, earlier today I did get finished watching the last of the cartoons that came out in February of 1943, including, of course, Tortoise Beats Hair, the sequel to, um, or Tortoise Wins by a Hair, the sequel to Tortoise Beats Hair from Looney Tunes, in which this was the one where Bugs actually dressed himself up as a tortoise to try to win the race and ended up getting all beat up by the other rabbits. With Cecil sitting there going, yeah, and rabbits are pretty dumb too. So, anyways, let's see. So, yeah, we're at 2.5 minutes now. So, what else? Yeah. So, anyways, all right, so I'll just let's see. So we're just waiting for more people to show up. So let me just see if, and of course, for both my Rumble and my YouTube viewers, if you haven't already, you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream. See if we can get some more friendly people to engage. I'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I will try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. With that being said, let's now talk about, now that we're past the 3 minute mark, let's talk about what's on tap for tonight. So tonight, I'm gonna go over the career of Mona Marshall, and by extension, we're gonna look at now Mona Marshall, probably the most one of the more prolific voice actresses to take on the role of young males, prepubescent boys, basically. Most notably, of course, she played the role of Kite in the Dot Hack Sign Games. Um, let's see. I know she was also Erin in the Transformers episode episode of Child Play. We're gonna also, of course, by extension, we're gonna look at her kind of career, and then we're also gonna, by extension, look at just talk in brief a little bit about some of the other actresses over the years, going all the way back to of course, the Golden Age, who have at some point in their careers have taken on the role of the young male characters, prepubescent boys. Basically, these are the boy characters, the male characters. They're basically prepubescent. They haven't gone through puberty yet. They haven't. Their voice has not changed. Basically, in a lot of ways, it's a time when little boys sound like same as little girls. It's not much distinction between a little girl's voice and a little boy's voice. So we're going to talk about some of the voice actresses who have done those roles. They focus primarily on Mona Marshall, and then talk about some of the others as well, just in brief. And of course, we'll do the Resident Wrap Up, get all caught up on all what happened on last night's Dynamite. as well as look ahead to tonight's Impact and Ring of Honor shows. Then we'll wrap things up with this day in each history. So, with that being said, let me go ahead and pull up the main article we're going to be looking at tonight, which is we're going to be looking at, of course, the career of Mona Marshall. All right. Now, mind you, this woman's been acting for quite a while here. And according to the IMDb page, she was born back in 1947. So she's like 78 years old, still going strong, from what I understand. Yeah, her career goes all the way back to 1972. So so let's talk a little bit about Miss Marshall here. And again, feel free to comment and or ask questions if anything grabs your attention here. Mona Marshall is an American voice actress known for her work in a number of cartoons, anime shows, films, and video games. Her major credits include South Park, where she voices many of the female characters on the show. See Dot Hack Sign, where she voiced, of course, Tsukasa, Fraggle Rock, the animated series, CBS Story Break, and Digimon. She has also appeared on stage for television shows such as Cheers and Who's the Boss. So here's her career. Marshall has a theater background and trained for the stage. When she was teaching fifth grade, the mother of one of her students suggested she enroll in a voiceover class taught by the late Dawes Butler, voice of Yogi Bear and Quick Draw Macross. So look at this. One of the greatest voice actresses of all times when it comes to voicing, prepubescent boys, and she got taught by one of the masters of voice acting, on the male side, Dawes Butler. She is often cast in the roles of young male characters. Her roles have included parts not only in American animated television series and several animated feature films, but also in Japanese anime. Yeah, again, when she's one of those who gets called in to do prepubescent boys, young male characters, I said. Her most notable roles in American cartoons are Sheila Proflovsky from 1999 to present, after original voice actress Mary Kay Bergman died by suicide. And Linda Storch on the popular television show South Park, as well as a title character in Doraemon and Kite, the main protagonist in the 2002 video game series Dot Hack for PlayStation. Mm-hmm. Marshall voiced the talking bear Kobe, the study buddy, and she also provided the English voice for the title character in El Chavo, the animated. Now, El Chavo, the animated series, I believe is an animated series based on the Mexican sketch comedy show El Chavo, which I think they still show reruns of on like Univision or Galavision or whatever. So outside of voice acting, Marshall has coached others on the craft and has worked on a singing career. With solo singles she would perform on stage. Of course, some of the anime she was involved in include she voiced Jimmy in the Harmony Gold Gatchaman dub. Now, for those of you who may not know, even though I've mentioned this before, Gatchaman, as in these are our anime roles, of course. Gatchaman is basically what we know. Okay, so one of the dubs for Gatchaman that we all know of was Battle of the Planets. So the full name of the show is Science Ninja Team Gatchaman. So let's see. Some other pretty well known. Let's see. She of course voices Izzy Izumi in the Digimon Adventure series. Let's see. Nataku in X. She's Toboe in Wolf's Ring, albeit I believe. Let's see. Minoru Kokubunji in Chobits. She actually is the voice of Inari and Haku in or young Haku in Naruto. If you guys remember, Inari was the grandson of the shipbuilder or bridge builder in one of Naruto's early episodes, and Haku was the young ninja who basically taken under the wing of who went under the wing of trying to think of the guy's name. He was formerly he was a rogue Zabuza's protege. And Haku was the funny thing about Haku, if y'all remember, Haku was actually a boy, but he had very effeminate features. So let's see. Let's see. I'm trying to think. Doraemon, the lead character in the Bang Zoom dub of Doraemon. Let's see. That's some other ones. There's Julian Moore in Armitage, Dual Matrix. Let's see. These are just the anime roles we're kind of go. She was Ichigo as a child in Bleach. Let's see. She was young Bobobo in Bobobo Bobo Bobo Bobo. Try saying that one 3 times fast. She was the lead character in Carried by the Wind, Tsukikage Ron. She was Ron Tsukikage. Tsukikage basically means moon shadow. When in Cowboy Bebop, we already said Izzy Izumi in the Digimon series. Mickey Dogen in Eagle Riders. A young Shiro Emu in Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works. Also had the role in Fate Zero. Oh, she was actually the street kid in the second gig episode, Red Data. Oh yeah, that was a good episode. I remember that episode. I didn't realize that Mona Marshall was the one doing, But again, I haven't watched that anime in a while, so I'll have to go back and listen for that. If it's the street kid I'm talking about, then that street kid and so basically Mona and Mary Elizabeth McGlynn, who of course voiced the Major in that, had some pretty interesting conversations to say the least. So in that, so let's see, Kiyosai Kawanabe and Ghost Slayer Ayashi. Let's see, Kota Oyamada in Kanokan. Let's see. In Kyo Kera Mao, she actually Wolfram von Bielefeld, Luciola in Last Exile, Barranco and Lupin the Third, various characters in Megras Plus, a young Shugaru Misato in Maho Romantic, Toad in Transfer Z, I'm just pointing. She's done women voices too, but I'm just trying to point out all the guy voices she's done. This is just in the a young Shinichi Chiaki and Nodame Cantabile, Kanabile, Kentaro no Togo Soshi, the TV series. She was Shoji Okita in Rurouni Kenshin, another kind of effeminate male character. All right. Yuta, I believe, was a boy in Zatch Bell. So, and in terms of some of her, she had various voices in CBS Story Break. She was Moki Fraggle in Fraggle Rock, the animated series. Of course, we already know a little bit about the stuff she's done for South Park. Let's see now. She was Chavo in El Chavo Animado or the animated. Let's see. Um, she was a Fairmont boy in one of the episodes of GI Joe, um, Real American Hero. Mm-hmm. And of course, some of the female roles, of course, include let's see, Tilda Dinkin in Dumbo Circus, Cadet Deming in the There's No Place Like Springfield two-parter. She's the one who was basically interrogating Shipwreck in that one situation. Scuttlebutt and My Little Pony. She was Red Butler, Patio Green, and Canary Yellow, and Rainbow Bright. Cat and Rambo and The Force of Freedom. She was Betty Brant in the 1981 Spider-Man cartoon. So there's something there. Katerina Anastasia and Duchess Dyer in Spiral Zone. Aquata in the My Little Mermaid TV series. Emperor Jin Woo in The Mummy the animated series. She was a cow announcer in The New Adventures of. She was Weepy Smurf, and I didn't even know she was involved in the Smurfs. But let's see, and of course, as I mentioned earlier, she was in Aaron in Child Play, Hassan in Aerial Assault, and then Louisa was her one female role she did in Fire on the Mountain. Some of the films she's been involved in include The Wacky Adventures of Ronald McDonald and the the monster McDonald and Locke. She was in the Card Captor Sakura. She was in Card Captor Sakura movie too. The Sealed Cord. In some of the Digimon movies, obviously, Arthur's Missing Pal, Digimon Tribe movies. Oh yeah, so anyways, so she's Kite in the video game side of things, of course. She was Kite in a lot of the dot hack games, Infection, Mutation, Outbreak, and so with all that being said, though, with all that being said, let's talk a little bit about some of the um, other voice actresses, of course, done work in and there have been many. Going all the way back even to the Golden Age, there were of course, Mae Quetzal and Margie Hines, who both voiced Olive Oil and Betty Boop in the Fleischer cartoons. They would also provide the voice of Sweet Pea in many of the cartoons that Sweet Pea appeared in. And the thing about Sweet Pea, of course, is Sweet Pea. Now I didn't know this until recently, but Sweet Pea, I guess, has always been considered a boy in the cartoon. I was never sure if Sweet Pea was a boy or a girl. But then again, considering that Sweet Pea is like a baby, kind of hard, not surprisingly. So Mae Quetzal and Margie Hines would provide, the boy voice there. Some other legends like June Foray, for example, would at times provide the voice of Tweety, even though it was primarily Mel Blanc who did it. She would occasionally do Tweety as well. Some of the cartoons. Let's see. Who else? So as we go through over time here, I'm trying to think. Oh, Grace Stafford, Grace Stafford, the wife of Walter Lantz. She, of course, did one of the more famous boy characters of all time, Woody Woodpecker. She took over the role of Woody Woodpecker in 1950 after it had been handled originally, of course, for his first three appearances by Mel Blanc, and then it ran through a few guys, including Danny Webb, and then Kent Rogers did it for a little bit before he was tragically killed in a training accident when he was in the Navy. And Ben Hardaway would be, of course, provide Woody's, and then Grace Stafford had taken over in 1950. And when it was it was somewhat known to her husband that she was the voice of Woody Woodpecker. She had asked not to or not to become public knowledge at first there, because she didn't want the kids feeling disappointed that it was a girl doing Woody's voice, Woody being a male character. But as it turned out, the kids were they didn't mind that. So let's see. So some other examples, of course, going back to the dot hack connection there, and of course dot hack sign, Brianne Siddall provided the voice of Tsukasa, the protagonist in that series. And then what's kind of funny too is that, let me see, I was just thinking of something. Brianne Siddall was also the voice of Ian Hawke in provided the voice of the assistant in Cowboy Bebop. Oh, Jim Hawkins. That's who I believe it was. Let me just see here. Brian Shidal, who of course goes under a few names, Ian Hawke and Brian Brosy also. She was Sukasa and Elk and Dot had sign. I also know she was. Let me see. Trying to find here. Okay. Guys. Oh, that's good. So no, it's Outlaw. Yeah, Jim Hawking in Outlaw Star. That's who it was. So yeah. So let's see. Other well-known voice actresses, albeit not as much, would also do some voices for some of these characters. Of course, B.J. Ward and Mary Elizabeth Mary McDonald Lewis would both provide occasional like preview as some boy characters in like G.I. Joe. I do know that. I know in the one episode where Cobra's Candidate, I believe B.J. Ward might have. I don't know if it was B.J. Ward or Mary McDonald Lewis who provided the voice of the younger brother of the female gang leader in that episode. Let's see. Colleen O'Shaughnessy provided some of the some of the voice. Colleen O'Shaughnessy, Miley Flanagan, of course, the voice of Naruto, as well. Debbie Derryberry did the voice of Zatch Bell and Jimmy Neutron. So I said Colleen O'Shaughnessy did the voice of Konohamaru in Naruto. Let's see, Katie Higgins did the voice of Udon in there. So you'd see even some voice actresses who that might not be their main thing, but still would throw their heads into the ring. I know Kara Vincent Davis does it a lot for out of Houston for formerly of ADV, and then Seraphim. I think Seraphim's resident voice actress who they call in for doing the preview as a boys is actually Shannon Emmerich. Of course, he did the voice of Loki and Loki Ragnarok anime, the English dub of that. And of course, I know that like Wendy Lee has done some of the preview as a boy characters as well. There have been a few, but probably again, Mona Marshall is probably the most well known of the lot. So I did just find out earlier in doing some research as well. Susan Blue was the voice of Flim Flam in 13 Ghosts of Scooby Doo, so she's done some of that work too. Oh yeah, I mean it's one of those things where when it comes to like higher pitched male characters, they a lot of times will bring in a female voice actress to do those characters, and that's kind of an interesting thing, and of course Shin Chan, because with Shin Chan you see that a lot too, because you do see like, for example, in the Funimation's dub of Shin Chan, right? Laura Bailey did the voice of Shin Chan. I think Brina Palencia did the voice of Georgie in that. So there were a few characters, like a few actors and actresses done that kind of thing. Alrighty then. So we're at the half-hour mark. I've talked quite a bit about that. And again, feel free to comment or ask questions about anything we talk about, or if you have questions, in the realm of anime, cartoons, comics, manga, or pro wrestling that you want to ask, feel free to ask those too. Even if it's not exactly something we're talking about at the moment. But hey there, Bitchozo, thanks for dropping in. Hope you're having a good week, my friend. So now I think I am going to move on to the wrestling wrap up here because part of the reason why I went into this whole thing with the voice actresses doing the voice actresses who did the roles of younger boys, younger male characters, just simply because I couldn't find anything to go over, any articles of interest to go over tonight, which sometimes happens. We're in December here, so on the anime side of things, of course, it's that time of the year where the fall season is coming, fall release season is coming to an end, and they're prepping for the winter release season, which will be coming up here in January. The winter and the animes that will be slated to be coming out. And I know Metal was talking about that the other night. Some of the animes that were coming out, next month. So, but anyways, we're past the 30-minute mark now, so I think I'm going to move on to the Resident Round. Talk a little bit about. We're going to probably look back to last night's Dynamite, and then look ahead to tonight's action on Ring of Honor and TNA Impact. So on last night's Dynamite, they continue to prep for Wrestle Kingdom, with of course Bryan Danielson, Excalibur, and Tony Schiavone on commentary, coming from the Fishers Event Center in Fishers, Indiana, on TBS. Oh wait. The first match on the show was a Gold League as they of course are right now working their way through the Continental Classic, with the finals I think slated for World's End at the end of the month here on the 31st, I believe, or sometime before that. But Kazuchika Okada got his first points in the tournament, defeating Pac. This is a non-title. Of course, Kazuchika Okada is a unified champion. Part of that unified champion is a Continental title. Another Gold League match. Kyle Fletcher pulled ahead with 6 points now as he defeated the Jet Kevin Knight. In a semifinal match in the tournament to crown the first ever AEW Women's World Tag Team Champions, in a hardcore holiday death match, the Timeless Love Bombs of Mina Shirakawa and Tony Storm defeated the Mega Problems of Megan Bayne and Marina Shafir in a 6-man tag match. The Ops trio of Hook, Powerhouse Hobbs, and Katsuhiro Shibata defeated the Dark Order of Evil Uno, Alex Reynolds, and John Silver. And the main event saw in the main event, in a Blue League match in the Continental Classic, looking like Claudio Castagnoli got his first points in the tournament by defeating his Death Rider stablemate, John Moxley. So that's all that happened on last night's Dynamite. Of course, Collision will be coming up this Saturday. We'll talk more about that. Probably tomorrow. Today is Thursday. So now, getting ready to move on to So looking ahead to tonight's action. On tonight's Impact, coming from Full Sail University in Winter Park, Florida, with Matthew Rainwalt and Tom Hannafan on commentary. You'll see the hometown man taking on Brooks Jensen of NXT's Brooks Jensen, who will have Lexus King in his corner. Robert Stone is set to take on Mike Santana in a number one contendership match for the Knockout World title. Xia Brookside will be taking on Danny Luna. In an 8-man tag match, you'll have Cedric Alexander, International Champion Steve Macklin, and the Hardys, the TNA World Tag Team Champions, Jeff and Matt Hardy, taking on the team from NXT of Heritage Cup champion Chenny Lorenzo, former Heritage Cup champion Lexus King, and Tyrick Igwe and Tyson DuPont. So that's going down on tonight's Impact. Now looking ahead also to tonight's Ring of Honor show. Coming from the Pinnacle in Nashville, Tennessee, with Caprice Coleman and Ian Riccaboni on commentary. The Beast Mordos of the LFI with Sammy Guevara in his corner will be taking on Commander. In a mixed 6-person tag match, they'll have the premier athletes of Aria Davari, Tony Nese, and Story Denali with Mark Sterling in their corner to take on the team of Billy Collins, Marino Tenagila, and Zoe Lynn. Cindy Hakim takes on Rosario Grillo in a 6-man tag match. Dalton Castle and the Outrunners, Triple Floyd and Truth Magnum, will be taking on Ashton Adonis, Jake Oman, and Josh Crane. Let's see. Daniel Garcia and Wheeler Yuta of the Death Riders will be taking on the team of the Real Brothers, I guess. Damian Real and Damon Real. Guess they're twins, I would take it. A non-title match. 13 belt Mercedes Monet will be taking on Lovely Miss Larkin. In the semifinals of the women's pure title tournament, Yuka Sakazaki will be taking on Billy Starks to see who advances to that finals. Let's see now. All right, so what I will do, I'll take one more look around to see if there's... let's look at one more thing here to see if there's possibly anything that I can talk about real quickly here, because I know I still got quite a bit of time here. Again, if there's anything in the realm of anime, cartoons, manga, pro wrestling, that's on your mind, guys, feel free to ask. I may not have all the answers, but I'll give it a try to see what I can answer. Let's see. Oh yeah, let me check MeTV one more time, see if maybe there was a... Yeah, no. All right. So, anyways. All right. So, let's see now. You guys know, we will, I'll be having, so this Sunday, we'll be continuing our look down Comics History Lane. Be going over books that went on sale from actually it'll be from Centaur. I should have done that today too. I still haven't figured out what it specifically will be reading from Centaur yet, but I will hopefully I'll kick myself in the butt and try to find that out sometime by tomorrow. But I will be joined with my co-host by Sabrina from who of course is a friend of Rex from Double Flyer Momentum. Oh yeah, well, I guess maybe let me just. I guess I should go take a deeper dive here and just look around, see if I can find anything here. I'm just taking a quick peek around to see if I can find any. Let's see. La dee dee da dee da, la dee dee da dee da la. Oh, okay. Just finally just thought of something I could probably, even though I myself have not actually watched it in a while. Um, in case anybody is just happens to be interested, let me go. Let's see. But considering with what they've done with it in recent years, I doubt it, but I will still mention this anyways. So if you happen to be up on late on Saturday nights and you are interested, of course, Cartoon Network still has its still has its still has its Toonami block, and the current run, of course, Eastern time, 12 a.m. to 3:30 here. You got Bleach Thousand Year Blood War on at midnight. Blue Exorcist Beyond the Snow Saga on at 12:30 a.m. on Sunday morning. Then 1 a.m. Senate Marshall Magic and Muscles Divine Visionary Candidate Exam. New episodes of One Piece on at 1:30. Dandadan on at 2 a.m. Dragon Ball Daima reruns of those at 2:30, and then Naruto and HD episodes on at 3. So if you're interested in that, if you want to watch Toonami, that's what you'll have. That's what they'll be showing you. All right. So, anyways, so now we're coming up on 45 minutes. So now I've killed some time there. I guess I will go ahead and move on to this day in niche history. I can burn some time there. So let me just go ahead. So today being Thursday, December the 4th, 2025. Let's go ahead and take a look back. This date in niche history. History! Oh, first off, I'm going to head back to 1975, 50 years ago today, as on this date 50 years ago today, the 35th and final issue of Dark Shadows went on sale from Gold Key. Gold Key, of course, back then known for, of course, doing comic adaptations of popular IPs. Now, of course, this is 4 years after. So the Dark Shadows comic was a comic adaptation of the cult classic that ran on ABC in the afternoons from 1966 to 71. It introduced us to vampire Barnabas Collins, as well as the witch Angelique. On this date, the 35th and final issue of Dark Shadows from Gold Key went on sale on this date. Sold for 25 cents. That's 32 pages. Again, based on the cult classic of Dark Shadows from 1966 to 71. So, all right. So, moving on to the next piece of niche history, then. As soon as I go ahead and do all this, we now move ahead to the year 2010, which was 15 years ago, as on this date, 15 years ago today. Former WWF Tag Team Champion King Curtis Ikea passed away on this date back in 2010, 15 years ago today. Former WWE champion King Curtis Ikea passed away at the age of 73. So Curtis Piaha Ikea III, born September 15, 1937, died December 4, 2010, was a professional wrestler better known as King Curtis Ikea. Ikea won championships in several major regional U.S. promotions, both as a single and in various tag team combinations during the 1960s. He then competed in the World Wrestling Federation, where he won the, at the time known as the Worldwide Wrestling Federation at the time, where he won the WWF Tag Team Championship with Baron Michael Scicluna. He was also later the master of the Dungeon of Doom in World Championship Wrestling. Basically, he was that. If you guys remember the Dungeon of Doom story at a time when they introduced him, he was that bald guy who would be sitting in the chair with all the scars on top of his head. Another one of those guys who, like Abdullah the Butcher, was known for some of the more brutal matches he was involved in. Under the name Ikea, he appeared in the film Three Stooges Go Around the World in a Daze, with Mo Howard declaring, quote, "That's not a man, that's a committee." So on this date, 15 years ago today, King Curtis Ikea, former WWF Tag Team Champion, passed away at the age of 73. So now, moving on to 2010 is just so nice that we're going to hit it twice. That being said, also on this date in the year 2010, Studio Pierrot's Bleach Hellverse premiered in theaters. Distributed by Toho, of course. So Bleach Hellverse is a 2010 Japanese animated supernatural adventure film directed by Noriyuki Abe. It is the fourth and final animated film adaptation of the anime and manga series Bleach. In the film, Ichigo Kurosaki and his friends traverse through the world of hell in order to save his younger sister Yuzu. The film's theme song, Save the One, Save the All, performed by TM Revolution, and the film's screenplay was written by Natsuko Takahashi and Masahiro Okubo, with Tite Kubo, author of the manga, overseeing the production. The film was released in Japanese theaters on December 4th, 2010. In between episodes 299 and 300 in the United States, dubbed in November. A prologue for the film titled Theater Opening Commemoration Hell Chapter Prologue was included in season 14 of the animation series, included in the regular TV Tokyo schedule, which aired on November 30th, 2010. From a promotional manga chapter titled Imaginary Number 1, The Unforgivens, was published, showing Shuren confronting Zaya, Aporo, Grans, and Nero Aruerne in hell. So, anyways, basically on this date 15 years ago today, Bleach Hellverse premiered in Japanese theaters. Released, distributed by Toho, released by Studio Pero. Studio Pero, which of course has a number of great animes, including Naruto and Yu Yu Hakusho in there as well. So, anyways, now with that, moving on to the final onto the final piece in each history. As we move ahead to the year 2020, as on this date in the year 2020, premiering on Apple TV from Scholastic Entertainment and Gaumont Animation. Gaumont, of course, a French-Canadian production company, and I believe this is the same company. This is their animation arm, but Gaumont Productions gave us, of course, the Highlander series back in the 90s with Adrian Paul as well. But Stillwater premiered on Apple TV on this. So Stillwater is an animated children's television series based on the Zen book series by John J. Muth. The series premiered on December 4th, 2020, so 5 years ago on Apple TV. The second season premiered on March 18th, 2022. The third season was released on May 19th, 2023. The fourth season was released on August 4th. So, and of course, James C. Right, the voice of Stillwater and Ren in the. So James C. Who also did the voice of Wind Dragon in the Justice League Unlimited episode, The Ultimates, I think, or Ultimatum. I think some other voice talent, some other pretty well-known voice talent associated with this series, including, of course, Kari Walgreen, Fred Tatasciore. Let me see. Robbie Damon, Eric Baza, who's the current voice of Woody Woodpecker, Dina Andrade, Phil Lamar, of course. We know him from Static Shock, Green Lantern, Jon Stewart from the Justice League Unlimited series. I think even Samurai Jack. Jennifer Hale, of course, numerous most notably Black Cat in Spider-Man the Animated Series. Snefi Shea, of course, provides the voice of Hinata from Naruto, and Orihime and Bleach. Let's see. Kimberly Brooks, Glenn Thurman, Julie Nathanson, who provided the voice of Rosie Rosie in Zeta Project. Let's see, Carlos Alazaraki, Alexis Lee, Tom Kenny, of course the voice of Professor Utonium in Powerpuff Girls, Jeff Bennett, voice of Brooklyn in Gargoyles, as well as Dexter's dad in Dexter's Laboratory. Max Middleton, who took over the voice of Konohamaru as the adult in Naruto, in Boruto, Naruto Next Generation. Sandra Lee Morris, Yuri Lowenthal, Sasuke's voice. So these are some of the voices, the more well-known voices from the show. But 5 years ago today, Stillwater, produced by Gaumont Animation and Scholastic Entertainment, premiered on Apple TV on this date back in 2020. Alrighty then. So with that being said, I thank everybody for being here tonight. Hope you all enjoyed the show. Of course, we'll be back here more each day tomorrow. Of course, we'll be giving you guys the results of what happened on tonight's Impact and Ring of Honor, as well as looking ahead to over the weekend for WWE SmackDown. Oh wait, SmackDown as well as so SmackDown. Bye Fitzozo. SmackDown as well as Saturday's Collision. So with that being said, I thank everybody for being here. And we'll be back here, of course, on Sunday. We'll be doing the historical comic retrospect. We'll be continuing our look down Comics History Lane, looking at books that went on sale in July of 1940 with Centaur. My co-host will be Sabrina. Basically, if you guys have ever gone over to Rex's channel, Devil Flyer Momentum, that's where you would find her. So with that, I thank y'all for being here, and I hope to see everybody back here tomorrow. Bye.